Clay from Popel's Backyard Farm. As you saw in my last video, we're making plywood nucleus boxes, and we cut one full 8-foot sheet of plywood into long strips, and I gave you the dimensions for that, and if I didn't, I'll redo it. The 7.5 piece will end up being 7.5 by 9.5, and you'll get 8 of those, and those are the ends, the fronts and the backs of your nucleus hives. You'll also get one long strip at the end of the cut, which will end up being 1 3/4 inches wide, and you cut 8 of those at 8.5 inches, and those will be the rest for the frame rest. All right, then you've got the side pieces, which measure out to 10 1/4 by 19 1/8, and you'll end up with 8 of those for the sides. And then the 8.5 inch width will be 8.5, and you cut them at 20 inches long, and you'll end up with 4 of those, and those will be your bottoms. And your final piece, which was 9 inches wide on the long cut, you'll cut 4 of those at 22 inches, and those are your tops. And this is the lumber I had left over on that sheet of plywood. Some scraps, and if you're like I am, you can always use scraps somewhere. Now, as you well know, like most boards have flaws, you'll have nicks and things like that. Once you put this together, you'll take some, I'm using paintable silicone, and I'm going to fill in some of the cracks so that they don't have to propolize everything. And when I nail this or screw this all together, I'm going to use Tight Bond 2. It's a waterproof glue, and that'll hold my boards tight together when I get ready to nail everything together, and smaller chance of things falling apart on me. All right, so when you first cut your plywood, all right, let's imagine that this is your plywood, your sheet of plywood right here. You will measure this way 10 1/4 inches wide. So you go 10 1/4 this way, and then you will set your table saw or however else you're going to cut it, power saw, and cut 10 1/4 all the way across the sheet of plywood, and you'll do that twice, just like this. I can show you this. This is your sheet of plywood, just like that. You'll cut 2 of them at 10 1/4, long strips, and you'll cut 1 at 9 inches, all the way down, 1 at 8.5 inches, all the way down, and 1 at 7.5 inches, all the way down. And this extra will be that 1 3/4 strip that you had, and you can cut your ends with that. So when you're all done cutting all these in the long strips, then you'll take and let me get this paper here, wrong side. I'm going to do all my figuring on paper before I do any other stuff here. Sorry about this. Hard to work one-handed. All right. Your top is going to be 9 inches, which would be the 9-inch strip you cut. You cut them at 22 inches long, which I showed you all those dimensions over there. But just to double sure, you get what I'm telling you, and you'll end up with 4 of those. Then you cut your 8.5 inch. You cut them at 20 inches long, and that strip will give you 4 of them, which that'll take care of 2 of the long strips. Now you got the 10 1/4 strips, which will give you 4 lengths on each of your 10 1/4 boards, so you'll end up with 8 of those. And then your end pieces, which will be your fronts and your backs, will be the 7 1/2 inch strip. And you'll cut each one of them at 9 1/2, and that'll give you 8 of them. Then your end strips off that little board, 1 1/4 inch, you'll cut them at 8 1/2 inches long. It won't be quite 2 inches. It'll only be 1 3/8 or 3/4. So if it doesn't matter, it's going to be close enough. And you'll get 8 of those. And that's what you'll end up making your plywood newt boxes out of. Now, it's a little chilly today for me to be putting all this together and let the glue dry good. So we're going to hold this part 3 off on a warmer day, which we'll probably get in the next couple of weeks. So while you're waiting for the warmer weather to paint and the glue and the silicone and everything, get your pieces cut out and get it ready, because spring's coming and swarm season's almost here. This is Clay from Public Backyard Farm with part 2 of how to make newt boxes out of one sheet of plywood. Okay, join us again. And this is Clay from Public Backyard Farm once again, saying goodbye.